Oh, it's gone to Manu. Fuck. I have to give it to my production guy. Go live. Oh shit, we are live.
Yes,
Okay,
we are.
we are live. Let's go then. Television. A very good morning to all of us. Television, it's a lifeblood of more than 200 million cable and satellite homes and close to a billion people. It keeps us engaged day in, day out. It leads us into a daily world of delight, sorrow, and even intense pain, regret, joy, hurt, and every emotion you can think of. For some, it can be a cause of boredom. For most, it's an escape from the daily grind. But for around 2 months now, viewers have not been able to track what's been happening with their favorite characters on most shows on most general entertainment channels. Full stop. A full stop was put thanks to the dreaded SARS-CoV-2 virus and the lockdown which has been extended in order to curb the rampant spread of the disease and also help governments prepare themselves with the necessary medical facilities and treatment infrastructure. Instead, avid TV watchers quickly switched to the old, iconic, and recycled fare like Ramayan, Mahabarat on Doordarshan, which they consume with great gusto, like they have not done on private satellite channels like Colors, Z, Star Plus, and Sony. Net result, viewership on these channels, which ruled the roost for so long, simply evaporated. Of course, two other genres which kept viewers engaged were news and movies. But can we have silence on the? Can you mute yourselves, all of you? Mute. Yeah, because there's a lot of noise going on here. But advertising did not latch onto this unheard of captive viewership numbers. Disney Star India, which is the world's largest media company as its parent, and its CEO has come on record saying his network and the network has lost 80% of their revenues. The television economy is broken at this moment. There's a lot of consumption, but there's a smattering of advertising. Imagine what would have happened to the GECs if they had continued to produce, spending close to rupees 60 to 70 crores a week. And like the news channels, they would have ended up getting very little advertising. The television ecosystem could have been totally devastated. There is some saving grace that production has been halted, which has, it's given them this lease on life. They're spending so much money would have bled them absolutely dry. So therefore, there are about 80 to 100 TV producers in India nationally who are worth their salt, who do really good work every day for the channels that they work for. And there are hundreds of thousands of projects in the OTT and cinema spaces which have come to a grinding halt. Most of them have been groaning about the loss of revenue and the fact that the abruptness has put them under tremendous financial stress. Analysts have been predicting the death of television courtesy OTT consumption, which has skyrocketed. No way. This is the final word. Television is here to stay for a long time. My production friends may disagree, but I believe television is here to stay for a long time. Various requests and appeals have been made to the INB ministry, the central government, and various state governments to kickstart production under strict operating procedures, which will ensure that people on shooting, the technicians and workers on shooting floors are safe. But when is it the right time to start? How? What happens to the last 2 months that we've been locked down? There's been no production. What happens to all the dues that have piled up on rentals, shooting floors, locations, people? Who's responsible? What about layoffs and the hundreds of thousands of migrant workers, contracted daily wage workers on the production side of things who have gone back to the villages in the past month or so? What will the programming strategy of broadcasters be? Will the old shows continue or not? Which is a question which Uday raised during a conversation with Ronnie. He says, I don't know whether I'll continue with the old shows. Or will they shut them down, as he said, or he suggested or hinted? Or will they start again from episode 1 of those shows to allow the audiences to connect with the shows again? These and many other vexing questions need answers, which we hope we will be able to address in the 5th of our virtual roundtables by IndianTelevision.com group. The challenges before producers. Hi, I'm Anil Vanwari, the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the group, which also includes the ever so popular TeleChecker.com, RadioMusic.com, and AnimationExpress.com, and the Indian Tele Awards. And of course, MIPCOM, MIP-TV, Asian Television Forum, Esports Bar, which I represent for India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. And our panel today, which will talk about the challenges before TV producers, has some of the most eminent producers from India and an eminent lawyer as well, who happens to be our firm's lawyer too. There's Abhimanyu Singh, the founder and CEO of Continental Pictures. There's Abhishek Rege, the CEO of Endemol Shine India. Aradhana Bola, the managing director of Fremantle India. There's Asit Kumar Modi, the man who bought you Tarak Mehta who brings you Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma. There's Nidesh Mehrotra from E&M Global and Fazila Alana from Saul, from Saul Productions. And then there is Rahul Kumar Tiwari, the producer from Swastik Productions and One Life. A big welcome to all of you all. And welcome to all the audiences on Facebook and our different pages on where we are simulcasting this conversation. So I'm going to begin by asking my colleagues and friends on this panel by, can you go back to the time when the lockdown was announced? I'll begin with, somebody like Rahul Kumar Tiwari. What was going on with you and your production at the time when the lockdown was announced? Rahul, can you step in?
A very good morning, everyone. Look, we all were kind of aware from January onwards that this corona and this virus is kind of hitting the world. It was kind of in Europe. It was really it was affecting people really badly. US, all across the world. So eventually, it was coming down to India. We all were aware. We all at the time, I don't think any one of us had kind of vision that this is going to be a lockdown for like 2.5 months completely. But however, something had to be done by the government. And when the government decided that it's going to be shut down, I guess that was the most natural thing to do.
So what were you doing at that stage?
Well,
what were you busy with? What were you busy with? I'm talking specifically Swastik.
So Swastik was doing, we have a show, Radha Krishna, on air. And then we were doing Devi as well. So there were 2 shows, plus we're gearing up to shoot our digital series. So yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And since 18th of March, I guess, 18th or 19th of March, that's when we went for a shutdown. And since then, we've just been waiting. And
so how did that pan out? What did you do specifically?
Well, immediately, the first priority was to look after people, the number of people who are involved in our shoots. The huge number of people, as you know, on a normal set, you'll always find more than 200 plus people if it's a fiction show. So the first thing was to look after people. So we had to immediately shut it down. Ask people to go back home, organize travel, organize accommodation. At the end of it, there were a lot of people. Because we shoot in Umargaon, it's based in Gujarat, around 2.5 hours from Mumbai. That's where our sets are. A lot of people just couldn't go back because with the immediate rush of train tickets and all of that, there's still around 200 people living in our studio, and we had to look after them. So since then, we've just been playing, just wait. I guess it's more of a wait and watch kind of a situation right now.
Great. Asid bhai, can you come in next and tell us what exactly, how did you follow the entire protocol of shutdown and lockdown? What happened immediately when it was announced?
जब ये अनाउंस हुआ तो कुछ हम लोग प्रिपेयर तो थे नहीं, तो सब कुछ एकदम स्टैंड स्टिल हो गया कि कुछ पता ही नहीं चला। और ये कब तक होने वाला है वो भी हम ये सोच के चल रहे थे कि चलो 10-15 दिन के लिए शायद होगा, लेकिन ये तो बहुत लंबा हो गया।
तो क्या किया आपने जब आपको ये अनाउंसमेंट आया? आपने क्या किया? आपने शूट जल्दी किया? What exactly did you go? You had to ensure that you had enough episodes in the bank so that let's say for about a week, so that the channel could continue.
देखो, तारक मेहता का कोई रेगुलर, जो हमारा जो तारक मेहता का उल्टा चश्मा जो शो है, उसमें कोई रेगुलर स्टोरीज नहीं चलता है, कोई लिनियर ऐसा स्टोरी नहीं है। हम लोग स्टोरीज क्रिएट करते हैं कि एवरीडे वहां पे क्या हुआ। तो हमने एक जो स्टोरी था वो हमने पूरा वाइंड अप कर दिया, और तो जैसे ही पता चला, और फिल्म सिटी में तो हमको सबसे पहले बंद करना पड़ा क्योंकि जो प्राइवेट स्टूडियो थे उन्होंने 1-2 दिन और ज्यादा कंटिन्यू किया, लेकिन फिल्म सिटी में गवर्नमेंट का होने के कारण वहां पे एकदम इमीडिएट लॉकडाउन हो गया। तो वो स्टोरी हमने वहां फिनिश कर दिया, क्योंकि जो पुराना बैंक था वो सब हाफ स्टोरी था, तो वो मैं यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पा रहा था। तो सब डे एंड नाइट वर्क करके हमने कैसे भी करके वो फिनिश किया। तो अभी जब पोस्ट लॉकडाउन क्या स्टोरी करेंगे, क्या सिचुएशन होगा, वो अभी थोड़ा ब्लैंक है।
ठीक है, Manu, I'm coming back to each of it, but Manu, can you address what I'd asked?
Yeah, so I think when in the beginning of March, it was quite evident that we were going to get hit by the virus, and it was just a matter of time that we knew that there would be some kind of a lockdown because we were seeing that in the rest of the world. But having said that, so we actually planned that there could be a 2-3 week lockdown. Everyone planned for a lockdown till the middle of April, and hence there was some kind of thrust to get a bank in order. And while we were working towards that bank, obviously there was a shutdown, and the shutdown was initially till the end of March, which then the Prime Minister came and extended till the middle of April. And then I think nobody in their wildest imagination thought that this will go on for 2 months. So obviously this has resulted in many crises for us, which
we'll come to that. We'll come to that. First, I want to understand what were you. So what exactly? So you couldn't build your bank. How much of a bank did you have before you could before you went off?
Most people build a bank till the end of April, and therefore you saw end of March. Sorry, therefore you saw like original telecasts happening to the end of March. Some people were able to build banks beyond that, but I think that everything stopped after the end of March.
Okay, great. Reggie, over to you now.
So to answer your question, I think like everyone was kind of expecting this, our thing was two-pronged. I think from an office perspective, we kind of shut down the week before itself. And a shoot perspective, we were trying to wrap up as much as possible. But a large amount of our stuff was non-scripted, scheduled with dates and artists. So a few of our shows actually got terminated as of the beginning of lockdown. Regional as well as a couple of things in Hindi and everything. Plus on a daily scripted kind of a show, I think we were shooting more in the regional space, actually in Chennai. So like Manu said, I think largely till the end of March, or rather a couple of days less to that, is what we could shoot. But that was the impact across the board.
Great. Fazila, over to you.
So actually, we were in the middle of, we were about to shoot this non-fiction show that we're doing for Amazon. And so I remember very clearly on the 13th of March, we were all sitting in Film City. And, even prior to that, we had been engaging with Amazon, because Amazon being an international company and obviously having the headquarters abroad, they were already saying, look, it's looking dangerous. We might have to, shut. So actually it is on 13th of March that we actually took a call that we will put the production on hold together with Amazon. So we actually shut down a little earlier for that one show than the others. And then subsequently, we also shut our office on the 15th or 16th of March because it just made sense to not expose people if it was not necessary. And we had one regional daily going on in Hyderabad, and that actually shot till the end of March because the Telangana lockdown was a little later than the Maharashtra lockdown. So they actually managed to shoot a little bit. But yeah, as of now, we still have a whole set and everything rigged up and ready because we were supposed to shoot in like 2 days. So it's all just lying in Filmistan as it is.
Great. Aradhna, over to you.
Anil, we just skipped this by the skin of our teeth for Idol because we finished it end of March, the finale, and we got some 55 million people there. So we managed that very well. But after that, we were hit by this for our other shows that we were sort of, shooting. I agree with Manu there that what we did is was scripted as much as we could bank. And frankly, that did run out by the end of March and everybody went on repeat from April. But the other stuff that we went pre-production for, we literally had to put it on hold because even clients were trying to figure this. We're all in this together. Our concern, pretty much like that my colleagues are saying, was our people. We, because we're a global company and we have offices across 31, offices across the world, we were getting a lot of inputs from the other countries. So we were expecting a lockdown and we were prepared for it. We actually shut our offices much before the Prime Minister announced that because safety of our people is really important. And I'm sure you'll talk about it later because then initially everybody was into, okay, this has happened. And I think now people are looking at what can we do about it, which is where we are headed.
Great. So again, I'm going to pass this question to everyone on the panel. Nidesh, I'll come to you later about the legalities.
Sure.
Okay. So what has this meant for each of you all, the lockdown of 2 months? I talked about the financial stress. I talked about, so, you all speak. I'm just going to be listening and the audience is going to listen to you all. What has the lockdown specifically meant for each of you all? Beginning with Fazila now. Yeah.
So the lockdown has actually been a very interesting period because it's actually, I know there's financial stress and I know that we've all had to cut on salaries and in our office also we've had to give salary cuts and this might even go on for the rest of the year. It's just uh, difficult to come out of such large losses soon. But I think it's been a very interesting time because it's given us actually a time to step back and reevaluate all the kind of shows that we were pitching and to work on new creatives. And so, the team is complaining actually that they are busier during the lockdown than they were when we were in office, which then actually when you're all together, we tend to faff also a little more. So I think it's been interesting because we've actually been able to come up with new creatives. We've been able to pitch out to channels. Of course, no one is taking any real decisions at the moment, and there's a little bit of a wait and watch happening. But at least we've got things out there, and I think from that point of view, it's been good.
Are you serious? You're not hurting?
Yeah, positively. Yeah, you've got to pull back, but you've got to look at it. Okay, it's giving you time to plan for the future. I think we need to be a little positive about this. Otherwise, it's going to be terrible.
Reggae, over to you. Abhishek.
I think, so I think there's been a lot of these, Zoom calls going around everywhere. And I think, frankly, we've kind of invested this time in development. From a lockdown perspective, I think one of the key learnings is we really need to reevaluate and be prepared for different types of programming. See, like you said at the beginning as well, consumption has not gone down. It's realigned to where people can see fresh programming. I mean, the spurt of OTT is also primarily because people have been consuming appointment viewing throughout, which is why the OTT libraries weren't as consumed before. So that became the fresh programming. I mean, there's no difference between smaller shows or bigger shows in terms of a viewer. If it's interesting, they're watching. So I think one of the biggest learnings is we are looking at developing new ways that, God forbid, any situations. We've had a couple of lockdowns on productions for different reasons before as well. How do we all kind of work on that? So I think those are the plans that we're trying to make. All we can try and do is make the max of the time available to us right now. We're kind of hoping this ends soon as well, because it is getting stressful now.
In what way is it getting stressful? In what way is it getting stressful?
No,
okay.
Specifically economically. I mean, I don't think there's any other facet to it. It's about people. It's about the revenues, and I think we've protected as much as we could. We're trying to do that, but at some point in time, business has to start off. Revenues need to come in. So that's something that everyone is looking at.
So what kind of numbers have you lost because of the lockdown? Would you say 30%, 40% of your annual?
See, you can't really say that. From production house perspective, a phasing of business is always not predictable because it's a business that intrinsically has that thing about you don't know when you get your shows planned. Largely, a lot of programming for us comes in the last quarter. So we're kind of hoping that August, September's uptake helps us. But yeah, I think the impact is that you have your costs and you have zero revenues. So that's the real math.
Yeah, so 3 months, it could go on till
absolutely.
Yeah, so about 3-4 months.
End of June, I mean, we can see, I mean, at least for non-scripted, it is clearly not before end of June to start. In like the really optimistic scenario of, let's say, 1st June, everything opens up also. I think scripted starts off first, dailies. We will take time for non-scripted to turn around things, except a couple of shows that were almost on the verge of shooting. And so I think it is entire June at least gone for most non-scripted producers.
Yeah, I think non-scripted will also have a challenge of being more expensive, and
True.
channels are going to be a little more wary of them than earlier. So it's going to be a bigger challenge for non-fiction, honestly.
Yeah, okay, unscripted is going to be a challenge. Manu, can you speak, please? Oh, hello. Yeah.
So I think, financially, this has been the biggest crisis the world has ever seen. I think everyone's hurting, and everyone's going to hurt. Yeah, some are going to hurt less, some are going to hurt more. But I think more on a spiritual level, it's given us that pit stop that we all required as producers, because being a TV producer is not easy. It's a very hands-on business. It takes a lot of your time. It takes, I haven't watched this much content for the last 20 years that I've watched in the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So there is a creative growth that happens. I think as artists, we need to constantly grow in our artistic fields. And I think it's given me that time personally. As far as, financially is concerned, I think everyone's bleeding and we've got to hold each other's hands at times like this. There is no way, no other way. I mean, more jobs you can create at a time like this. So there's been a lot of introspection also happening at that end. We've been working, I've been working closely with, the other stakeholders in IFTPC and all to come up with SOPs, to come up with some kind of way to kickstart business again. And I think that's going to be the focus that's going to keep me busy.
Okay, Asad bhai, in terms of, you could wrap up in terms of financial cash flows, in terms of outgoings. What has that meant to you? आपको तकलीफ ज़्यादा हुई है, losses भी ज़्यादा हुए?
देखिए, losses तो अभी सबको हो रहा है, तो अभी losses का बात करके कोई मतलब नहीं है।
नहीं, कितना हो रहा है करीब? 30%, 40% साल का आपको रिकवर करने में कितना टाइम लगेगा?
अभी तो जब चालू होगा तब पता चलेगा कि रिकवर कैसे करेंगे। तो लॉसेस के बारे में आई थिंक अभी डिस्कस नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि लॉसेस तो सबको हो रहे हैं, सबके अलग अलग स्टेक है, सबके अलग अलग रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, तो लॉसेस तो सबको हो रहे हैं। तो सबसे ज्यादा जो लॉस है ना, देखो पैसा तो कमा लेंगे, लेकिन जो क्रिएटिव लॉस है, जैसे अभिमन्यु ने कहा कि हमने बहुत सारा, हमको कंटेंट देखने का टाइम मिला, मुझे भी मिला, बहुत सारे शोज देखे, क्रिएटिव ग्रोथ भी हुआ, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं ये भी लगता है कि ये क्रिएटिव क्रिएशन के लिए अगेन कुछ इतना अच्छा टाइम नहीं है, क्योंकि हैप्पी माइंड नहीं है, क्योंकि आप सोचते बहुत कुछ हो, ये करना चाहिए, वो करना चाहिए, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं स्टक हो जाते हो। तो लेकिन ठीक है, बहुत सोचने का वक्त मिला, क्योंकि टेलीविजन प्रोड्यूसर के लिए वो 24 आवर मेडिकल शॉप जैसा प्रोफेशन है, आपको एवरी टाइम ऑन द टॉस रहना पड़ता है। तो ये अच्छा एक सोचने के लिए टाइम मिला कि आगे कैसे करना चाहिए, हम लोग इतना वर्क फ्रॉम होम कैसे होगा, राइटर को रोज बुलाने की जरूरत नहीं है, हम लोग अभी टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज करके बहुत सारा टाइम बचा भी सकते हैं, और टेलीविजन को नए तरीके से देखना पड़ेगा। तो ये सब थॉट चल रहा है, और लॉसेस भी है, थोड़ा फ्यूचर थोड़ा कहीं ना कहीं हम लोग पॉजिटिव है, जैसे भी शूटिंग स्टार्ट करेंगे, सब लोग मिलके एसओपी बना रहे हैं, लेकिन जब तक स्टार्ट नहीं होता है तभी थोड़ा तो एक डार्कनेस फीलिंग आता है। तो बहुत कुछ सोचा भी है, नए नए शोज कुछ सोच रहा हूँ, डेवलप कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन 100% हैप्पी माइंड नहीं है। तो और मेरा शो जो कॉमेडी है, हैप्पीनेस के साथ रिलेट करता है, तो मेरे लिए एकदम ये बहुत बड़ा एग्जाम है कि इसके अंदर अपना माइंड कैसे एकदम स्पिरिचुअली या जो भी है फिजिकली अपने आप को मेंटेन करके फिट रखूं।
ठीक है, तिवारी, राहुल।
Yeah, look, of course, Asit bhai rightly said that, it's not about the losses at this point in time. However, we all understand the situation the world is in. And if we specifically just talk about our industry, I guess it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while for us to come back from this. The time off initially was very pleasant because you really thought that it's after a long time, you're going to have a break and you're going to stay with the family and all of that. But I think, because it's been extended, every time the lockdown extended, it kind of started getting grim. The last extension was kind of really depressing for me. So I've kind of moved into from a very happy space to kind of a dimmer space at this point in time.
Yeah, you look after the finances of the company while your brother does the writing, direction, and the creative part. You also help in the creative, but so you ought to be depressed because you know
yeah, look,
revenue.
It's a collective zone. So in the development phase, we both are involved. We both try and develop, and then once a concept is up and running, then he takes over. Of course, we've got a lot of time currently to develop stuff, to think about new stuff, to watch new content. and drive that creation bit. Financially, as the number of days go by, unfortunately in our business, we're not in a production like a material production or a machinery production where probably later when it opens up, and if it all does open up really well and everyone starts working, probably they can do extra shifts, they can do a lot of stuff, and they can probably pull back a certain extent of the loss of production. However, for us, every day which goes by, it's gone by, and we really can't do much about it. And it's
So what kind of a loss is it daily, approximately? For, let's say, let's put a figure to it for all of y'all. If you're not producing on a daily basis, would it be about, in terms of not profits, but in terms of top line, are we looking at about 5 to 7 crores a day for all of y'all put together collectively, the top line?
Or the entire industry, I guess.
Yeah, I'm talking about all of y'all on the panel here.
I wouldn't know about them, but of course, I think I really don't know. I think out of the 6, 7 of us, and 9 of us which are here, 8 of us which are here, it would be a substantial sum. We really can't pinpoint on the exact.
Double-digit crores a day, every day. I'm saying.
For sure. I think a couple of crores for sure at a daily level. But what that does is, apart from giving us that financial loss on our top line, what it also means is the industry which has been working for over years, all of a sudden this stop kind of brings the workers, the people who are on a daily wage. It creates a lot of mess around there, So it's very unfortunate. It's a very unfortunate incident, but at the end of the day, we really can't do much. Hence, I guess we all are just waiting to get back on our feet and get this rolling pretty soon.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to roll very soon because the cases are rising again in places like Bombay. Though there are proposals which have gone from the FWIC. The guild is working.
I have a point there that the cases would be rising. I completely understand that, but at the end of the day, your country, the economy of the country requires businesses to open up, and that is the bottom line. I guess the initiative or the drive from the top government and from all the top financial advisors across is that the economy needs to revive. We cannot just be in a lockdown. That is not a solution. Probably we don't have a vaccine at this point in time. Probably the SOPs which we're working on as an industry, probably of course, that's not a permanent solution. However, we still have to go out there and start working. And
one of your companies, Monozygotic, I'm going to interrupt, Monozygotic, the head of production of that company passed away recently.
Yeah.
So,
it's another arm of our business. Of course, it's very unfortunate for that to happen.
And he passed away because of COVID.
He did pass away.
COVID-related causes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very unfortunate. He's got a family. He's got kids. So, unfortunate things do happen. Like Corona itself is a very unfortunate incident to happen to the world. Of course, individuals will get affected, and it really, you feel it when someone who's close to you or works with you or is a part of your business life, probably just passes away. It's a very unfortunate incident to happen.
Yeah, but imagine this is in Bombay. Bombay is the hottest of hotspots, and we are the entertainment capital of India as such. So yesterday there was a train which went out with some of the railway workers. It was packed. Most of those people who come to work, either unless they're top cinematographers or top writers, the daily wage earners, the spot boys, they travel by train and they travel by buses. So public transport is something, if it's opened up too early, I expect an extension, further extension. I don't expect it to be to a lifting of the lockdown, unless they're leaving the fate of the people in the people's hands. And the government the beds are running out. They don't have enough hospital beds. They're building more temporary hospitals all over the place, but there's not enough doctors. Then there's not enough medical help. There's not enough medication at times. So those are the challenges.
There are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues. And these issues will always remain in a country like ours, and not only in a country like ours. It's actually even in the developed, even in the United States. They are struggling. Everyone's struggling. So at the end of the day, we just have to find ways. We've got to like the SOPs which we're working around. Probably that's a way that we go to a destination. Probably just get everyone in. I'm just saying out loud right now, but of course the SOPs are being made. Probably just keep everyone at one place. And don't let them get out, and slowly try and see how this business will evolve, because we all will be involved in this whole evolution. It is an evolution or a new way to do business, and none of us sitting here or the people who are creating the SOPs, and all of us together, we're creating the SOPs, we really don't know whether what we're going to create is the right one. We just have to evolve the SOPs and keep working.
Okay.
You know, Anil, I would agree with Rahul a lot here, because I think that, you know, there's no denying the crisis, there's no denying the challenge. But I also think the eternal optimist in me feels that way. There is also opportunity here. I do think it's what Manu was saying, right? Spiritually, seeing more content, thinking about it. What Asit was saying, that he also needs to keep himself happy, all of that. I really think this is an opportunity to reset. What you are saying is absolutely pertinent. Safety and lives of people is the most important. But there is a way that we have to find together, including our clients, because we're all in the same boat, right? To find a reset. I mean, look at our digital life today. How many of us are not going to rethink business travel? We are, right? Because we realize so much is possible through VCs. So much writing is possible through digital extensions. So who knows where that will go? We're still figuring that out. I can tell you from the Fremantle end, American Idol 18 was shot from 25 different locations, over 120 iPhones. Did anybody ever dream of that? No. Was it done? Yes. Was it successful? Yes. So I'm just saying, we need to reset, which we are, and we need to think and pool this together and find a solution.
And how did American Idol do in terms of viewership and ratings, or it's still to come on?
Phenomenally well. Initially, there was like, you know, the last month, and this is leading to the finale, which is the biggest part of it, right? It did very, very well. I mean, it's, you know, it's there for everybody to see. You can watch that. So there you go. They found a way. Everybody's safe. Everybody from their homes. Nobody steps into a studio. And I think we will find ways to do that together, collectively.
Okay, Nidish, I'm going to bring you in here now. In terms of, let's say we kickstart by sometime in July. Okay, by end June and July, let's say we kickstart. Now, what are the liabilities on the producers and on the community, from a legal perspective? Can you switch on your mic, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
See, there are no liabilities as such. So let me just give some basic ingredient for everyone to understand over here, the eminent speakers over here, and also our attendees. The contracts that you sign have to be read in its strict sense. उसका क्या मतलब है? जो contract में लिखा है, बस वही valid है. Whatever is written in the contract is valid. The intention of the parties has to be gathered. I possibly see during this COVID-19 problem and post-COVID-19 problem also, the basic aspect is of rentals. Now, let us first get into the business model of television industry. We are commissioned by the channels. Then we go and produce the shows by getting the artists together and the crew and everyone. We have a privity of contract with the broadcasters. Artist and crew has the privity of contract with the producers. On the basis of my commercial understanding, I go and hire a studio. There are very limited producers like Manu and Rahul who own their own studios in this country. But most of the producers hire studios on rentals. Now those rentals are very expensive. 25 lakhs per month, 15 lakhs per month, 10 lakhs per month. Now, everyone must have heard about, over the period of 20, 30 years you have been into the industry, you must have heard about this clause called force majeure, force majeure, force majeure. Nobody has actually thought about pandemic being a force majeure. Nobody, no lawyer, nobody has put that in their clauses throughout globally. Neither America, neither India, neither Brazil or Japan, for that matter of fact. So what has happened is recently, last week of April, all the lawyers, couple of lawyers across the country filed a petition in Supreme Court saying that, listen, our Amdani has got for a stock. We don't have money and we can't pay the rentals for the offices that we have taken on rent. Supreme Court has said that, listen, I'm not going to interfere in this. The order is dated 30th of April. It is a commercial understanding between a licensor and a licensee. If you feel that you can't pay the rent, go up to him, terminate the contract, And if he feels he can reduce the rates by 50%, 35%, 60%, then get into a renegotiation, get your fresh agreement done. This is one aspect to it. So everyone was kind of was very devastated that no, Supreme Court in the oral hearing also said during that hearing that listen, if today I cannot give any favor to lawyers, if I give favor to lawyers, there will be architects, engineers, everyone going to come up with it for us. Today, there are people in this country whose livelihood is based on real estate. I mean, they get rentals because of that. So Supreme Court said we are not going to interfere in this. Now, recently, on 21st of May, there was a judgment by Delhi High Court, which says that you can only invoke force majeure when there is an impossibility. Fair enough. You can only pay rent, or you cannot pay rent, or you can suspend or waive off when it is written in your contract. So if there is a force majeure activity which has taken place, the clause should say that the rent will be waived off, the rent will be suspended, then only you cannot pay the rent. Otherwise, you will have to pay the rent. So that's the biggest challenge which I think all the studio owners are facing and are going to face later on also, because their money comes from the broadcast. If they are not getting any money, how are they going to pay the rentals of the studios? So many studios are going to get this because of this. I mean, the bigger producers might afford it, but not everyone. So that's what my answer is. I would like to also go, Anil, do you want me to go into the various kinds of disputes that and the challenges that are faced? Would you ask me that separately?
I asked you about the liabilities. You can go ahead with that.
Can I ask Nidhish a question on the insurance front?
Yeah.
And will the insurance people
I'm coming back to you.
Clause over there?
I'll address that. First, Fazila, insurance is also a contract. Okay, the insurance policy that you sign is a contract. Okay, now if insurance policy talks about the pandemic, then you are covered by it. If it doesn't talk about the pandemic, then you're not covered by it. To my knowledge, you will have to pay extra premium to get this covered going forward. The whole industry is going to do that. So if pandemic word is covered, if it is covered that during a pandemic or during force majeure or during impossibility, you will be insured by them, then yes. If not, then not. This will be a biggest challenge. And right now, courts have not dealt with this issue with respect to studio owners. So to my knowledge and to my understanding, this point will be eventually evolved before the High Court and ultimately by the Supreme Court. So we'll have to see, wait and watch.
Okay, coming back to the rentals of studios, I'll get you back, Nidhish, later. In terms of rentals, how is each one of you placed in terms of studios where you had to put up sets and you had taken on long-term leave license or rental basis? How is each of you placed? Rahul owns his own studios and shooting floors, so he's safe.
We continue to pay. I mean, there's no choice. And like Nidhish said, it's something that is a discussion that with every
well, we'll have to reconnect. Abhishek, I think we lost you.
So I think, Anil, that most of us are trying to talk to the studio owners and to see whether they will come down on the rent, whether they're willing not to charge the rent. But they're also playing a bit of a watch and wait game. They're saying, let the lockdown get over, let's figure it out. So there's no concrete decisions happening, but everyone's engaging, I believe, with the studio owners and how to minimize this.
But there's already two months rent overdue.
Yeah, but for example, I don't think we've paid that yet because we're talking to Filmistan and they're saying, wait, we'll get that.
Okay.
So
Asid bhai?
we're just seeing how it goes.
Yeah. Asid bhai, what about you?
देखिए, हमारा तो जो सेट है वो फिल्म सिटी में है और जो प्राइवेट जो स्टूडियो ओनर है उनको भी समझना पड़ेगा प्रोड्यूसर के साथ. तो वो मुझे लगता है कि वो सबको एक दूसरे के साथ मिलके कुछ डिसीजन लेना पड़ेगा। और फिल्म सिटी वो गवर्नमेंट बॉडी है और गवर्नमेंट का काम है कि हमारा जो बिजनेस है एंटरटेनमेंट उसको थोड़ा इजी और हमको जरा कंफर्ट्स दे। तो आई थिंक अभी जो सीएम ने एश्योरेंस भी दिया है कि हम इसमें कुछ सोचेंगे, क्योंकि फिल्म सिटी वो एक्चुअली एंटरटेनमेंट वो बिजनेस मॉडल नहीं है, वो प्रोड्यूसर के लिए एंटरटेनमेंट बिजनेस को इजी करने के लिए उन्होंने सेटअप किया है। तो मुझे लगता है कि रेंटल इश्यू थोड़ा बहुत सॉर्ट आउट हो जाएगा। मुझे इतना डिफिकल्ट नहीं लग रहा है, क्योंकि जो लोग रेंट पे देते हैं उनको भी समझना पड़ेगा, सबको एक दूसरे के अंदर देखो हाथ मिला के काम करना पड़ेगा। इसमें लीगलिटी जो अपनी जगह पे है, लेकिन एक मॉरल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी एक अलग तरीके से एड्रेस होती है। तो आई थिंक ये लीगल और मॉरल वो दोनों हिसाब से एड्रेस होना चाहिए। हाँ निकेश,
ठीक बात है सिद्ध भाई, बिल्कुल।
Aradhna, what about you? You have no standing sets on any outgoings on.
Thankfully, right now we don't, because we're in the process of that pre-production phase where that hadn't happened. The conversations were on, but we hadn't concretized it. So, in that sense, but philosophically, spiritually, at a basic level, I really agree with what Asit just said. I think that's what it's going to be about.
Okay, I'm going to deviate from my questions because there are some questions coming from the audience. There's Anil Goyal who's written that animation and CGI in general, which is not dependent on, one second, I see two trends that will accelerate with COVID and wanted the panel's views. Animation and CGI in general, which is not dependent on physical co-location, sets, etc. Moving pre-prod, post and prod and post-production workflows to the cloud, so a wide variety of talent can work and collaborate remotely. Do the panelists believe both of these will get accelerated?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think VFX and animation both will have to adopt and adapt to remote working, because you can't have like 100, 200 workers working on a floor. And also, I think these are tools that are going to be used to tell stories more and more, because animation, you can tell those stories, create stories, make animation sitting in your home out of the houses of various artists. So I think that is definitely going to get accelerated. You'll have more demand for that. As far as VFX is concerned, it's going to become more difficult because people will have to work remotely. So people have to go onto a cloud and pull from a cloud. And that's going to, like, I think, push up costs for VFX in the short term. As far as both these tools are concerned, yeah, it does have a bright future.
Rahul, you have a view on this because you also run VFX, you're also getting into animation.
So Manu is right. You know, at the end of it, I think animation, VFX. If you talk about television and the shows which require VFX extensions, you just have to form a new way to work. Probably remotely. Remote working is probably an idea. But and that is the only way to do it, because rightly said, you really can't have 100, 150 people sitting in an office space at any point in time, and it gets really difficult to manage, because God forbid if any one of them contract corona, then the entire office will be shut down. So I think with all of us, we just have to wisely and slowly ramp it up with the right precautions and see how we go from here. That is the only way to move around it.
Okay, I'm going to shift to Aradhna. Aradhna, you said the American Idol model did work reasonably well. So from your perspective, do you see a broadcaster in India working in that manner, agreeing to work in that manner?
Absolutely. I can't get into details, but because this is a prerogative of the client and us together. But we're doing very active conversations on some of our shows and ideas, which are exactly in that direction, Anil. And I think, as you hear all the producers here also say this, because everybody does have a sense of all of us are in this together to find solutions. And people from an initial mindset of, oh my God, this has happened, let's stop for a while, let's run repeats, are now coming to what do we do, because this looks like a long haul. So like I said, I do believe that reset is going to happen. And these are going to be some of the ways that we're going to do it. I don't think we are going to have a typical set of programming from home, because that looks too video-ish, like too much of UGC in that sense. I think there's going to be a studio element and this will come together, sort of a hybrid. But definitely the days of having 400, 500 people in a show, especially if you're talking unscripted, I think those days are really, really limited, if not over.
So coming back again, there's another question that Nidish has been talking about, he's been addressing with us that about employment now. Do we see, you said 400, 500 people, we see less people on sets, we see less people in companies, we see more remote working. Do you think the fact that there have been layoffs, is that going to spur a set of other problems that the production community will have to face going forward?
Anil, I'm not saying that people will not be working. I'm just saying there's going to be a different way of working.
I get it. So
I don't think it's going to be that there is not going to be employment and people are not going to get paid or won't have job opportunities. They will. It's just that the way that we all work might be different.
But you might not need 500 people, like you said. Also, you may, like you had earlier.
Not on a physical set, Anil. Not on a physical set.
But you still have 500 people working non-physical from a virtual place.
I don't know if it's going to be that exact number, but I think it'll get dissipated in different ways, right? I mean, for instance, if you look at writers' rooms, right, they can be run so beautifully, completely. That's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
Right? That's happening. We can have a lot of people come in from their homes as long as we work that hybrid out through whatever technology, which we know for sure is available to us. So physically on a set, no. But are there going to be larger teams involved in shows? Yes. Are there going to be the same number as before? Not necessarily. But is there going to be room for people to work? Yes.
Okay, Nidish, address the issue of the layoffs, and if you could address that, what are the challenges going forward we could face?
I think, Anil, Ministry of Home Affairs had passed a notification a couple of weeks back saying that no wages cut, no layoffs. See, in this situation, everybody, all the organizations, all the corporates, be it any sector, including entertainment sector, has to see the pockets, has to see the future. The future is quite uncertain. So that notification was challenged in Supreme Court, and by some of the corporates, if we are not in a position to pay someone right now, when there are no revenues being generated by our companies, there are you have public limited companies, you have listed companies, you have private limited companies, you have shareholders in listed companies and public limited companies. You are answerable to your shareholders as well and to the company. You are answerable to your investors as well, because you have raised money from private equity investors or VC investors tomorrow, from the banks as well. Today RBI has done a moratorium of 3 months now, which is getting extended from 1st June of onwards to another 3 months. Only the principal part, interest you still have to pay. The point is that there are outgoings are so much. Everybody has decided to do a cut-off, salary cut or layoffs. Supreme Court said, listen, we are not going to interfere in anybody's decision-making process. We cannot dictate the employer that you have to pay someone. If you can't pay, you can't pay. It's as simple as that. If you have to lay off, you have to lay off someone. That's the entire thing.
Okay, then Kunal Dasgupta, the former CEO of Sony, has asked a question. What are the views coming from broadcasters on all these? Restarting, salary cuts, rentals, the challenges of producer community can answer. Who's going to take the first plunge? Abhishek, since you want to take the shot?
So right now, I mean, the discussions on what do we do ahead, there's no clarity on what has happened and what is the impact. And one of the primary reasons is, I think,
Reggae, get more bandwidth.
Anil?
Yeah, Mani, you want to take a shot? Yeah, I can hear you now. Reggae, I can hear you.
Sorry. So I think largely everyone's waiting to take stock of the full impact that will come by. And when there's clarity as to when we're going to come back is when a lot of these discussions will suddenly open up, because we'll have numbers. Right now, these are very sparse discussions going on what can we do after the lockdown. That's pretty much the focus right now.
And what's the view from broadcasters to restart? Is there any view on that? Are they
They'd
pushing
like
you?
to start tomorrow, as would we. But I think
Yeah.
which is where we're all waiting for the official government clearances on what will happen. Everyone's presenting a post scenario and how will we function in that to try and
We'll
start
come to
as
that
early as
also.
possible.
We'll come to that later. Yeah.
But
So
some
what
of
is
the
the view?
regional markets are starting, like Kannada started, Telugu,
End of the month.
I believe
Kannada
it will
is starting
start on the
tomorrow.
1st of June.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a call yesterday from Sama saying 1st of June, let's start. So some of the
Okay.
regionals are starting.
Okay. There's a question from Mayank Gandhi. I'm abandoning my questions. Don't you feel the credit? Don't you all feel the credit period of payout for producers, creative actors needs to come to an end? Since now there is an emergency, a lot of people from the industry are taking a brunt for the same.
I think that should be addressed to broadcasters, no?
Yeah, but this is something which has been asked. Anyone wants to take
Because
another shot?
it's a rule, right?
I
If we get
think,
90 days, we cannot pay before that.
I think it's basically the value chain. So
Exactly.
advertiser pays to the broadcaster after a certain period of time. Therefore, the broadcaster pays to the producer after a certain period of time. And I think that's a credit period that I think emerges from there. So unless there is a resolution at a advertiser broadcaster level, I don't see that.
Okay, so one of the challenges that has been before the broadcast community, the producer community, is that they don't own the IP. It's been a pet subject of all of us. So do you think this entire scenario, it's put forth in you all a desire to own more IP, with the exception of maybe Manu and possibly the international ones like Endemol Shine, they own their IP, and then they, so has it again rekindled a desire to create and own IP rather than just become commissioned work for hire producers? Take a shot, all of you all, please.
Look, I think to answer just to add on to your last question about what Kunal also asked, what the broadcasters are doing. I guess currently they've been a bit supportive, but there's only discussion. It's most of a discussion than real action which has happened from a broadcaster's end. However, we're very hopeful that they will come out and support, because at the end of the day they hold the IP and they're the owners of it. Having said that, this lockdown will also create an opportunity probably for producers who trust in the content and probably believe that in the IP game. I guess it's an opportunity to create a different kind of a business model and to deal with the broadcasters accordingly. I think we have this opportunity at this point in time to probably just go ahead and create your IP, create a different business model, each to its own. I think it's going to be more of each to its own, of who wants to chip in, who wants to put in how much. So there's a whole financial calculation which probably would happen. You never really know, but I think there's an opportunity there.
Anyone else wants to take a shot before I move on to other questions? I'm just dumping my question. This is a very participatory audience over here. They're throwing questions left, right, and center. So anyone wants to take a shot at this about owning IP? Manu.
So I think this has been a long discussion amongst all producers and stakeholders. Again, I second what Rahul is saying, which is that this time is giving an opportunity for different business models to emerge. And I think one could be that at a time like this, where you're going to have stress on budgets and on advertising, this is a time that maybe the production community can work along with the broadcast community and with certain co-investments and create IP. I think that is an opportunity.
Asid bhai, बोलिए.
देखिए, एज अ प्रोड्यूसर मैं तो बहुत बिलीव करता हूँ कि आईपी होना ही चाहिए, और विदाउट आईपी, अगर आईपी है तो आप आपका बिजनेस को सस्टेन कर सकते हो और थोड़ा लॉन्ग टर्म प्लेयर बन सकते हो. अगर आईपी नहीं है तो आई डोंट थिंक आई एम अ प्रोड्यूसर, आई एम रादर प्रोडक्शन कोऑर्डिनेटर. तो और आगे पोस्ट कोविड ये बहुत सारा चेंजेस होगा कि आईपी कौन ओन करेगा, क्योंकि रिपीट टेलीकास्ट का भी रिपीट वैल्यू आज जो डिजिटल मीडिया पे जो कंजम्पशन हो रहा है, तो आईपी का एक वैल्यू है, कैरेक्टर का एक वैल्यू है, इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी का एक वैल्यू है। तो इसको तो सब प्रोड्यूसर को मिलके सोचना चाहिए और चैनल को भी सोचना चाहिए, और आईपी कितना हम लोग अपने पास रख सके वो बहुत जरूरी है।
Fazila and Aradhana, from your perspective, you all belong to international networks. What is
Well,
your perspective on this?
we own the IP, so
I know you all do, but
what does reggae?
yeah.
No,
So does
I
does
think whereas Aradhana's right, there are certain formats that are owned by the group. There are still formats that we all create here indigenously for the local market, which we do not own, and I think it is going to be a continued struggle because I think more than ever now the platforms and the channels are going to be like not wanting to give up the IP because they have also realized that they are going to be in a situation where they need a bank to replay and they do not want to be paying for it again. So I think actually the struggle is going to become tougher because everyone's going to realize that the only solution is going to be if there's a huge financial problem and therefore they are okay for the producer, like a bit like what Rohit, Rahul and Manu have done before with Sony in that sense, is come share the cost and therefore own half or some sort of mid path on this front. But I don't think they're going to give 100%.
No, I'm not talking about 100%.
Yeah. And the OTTs so are no way giving 100%. I'm giving anything right now.
Yeah, so I would echo that, Fazila. I think that is true because they have discovered that there are no boundaries to content, right? You can dub it, you can subtitle it, and you can put it in, and people want to consume it, they will consume it. That's definitely been seen. But I think what might happen is what once happened with the movie business, right? When the top actors came into place and then certain markets, those negotiations started happening. So it wasn't just a simple fee that you took for a film, but you also got certain markets and profits from that. So maybe those will be the...
So I agree with Aradhana. I think syndication and getting a part of syndication should be more of the aim than an entire IP thing. Like even if you can be part of additional revenues, I think that's a giant leap forward.
Yeah.
Great, but all of you will have to learn to syndicate, attend markets, or maybe digital markets or physical markets.
No, there are lots of distributors, Anil, that do that for you. You don't have to physically always go everywhere.
Because Rahul's gone ahead. Rahul's done it. He's representing, he's syndicating, he's set up a company which is actually making money. How's that experience been for you, Rahul?
We'll give our business to him.
Okay. Great. So it happened here at the round table. Going on to the next question. See, what Subodh Fadnis has asked is, do all of you believe that due to COVID-19 lockdown, it's going to change your behavior and preferences now onwards? I feel so and also feel it's going to affect the current content patterns. Do you, all of you agree?
We just done a study in 9 countries, including the US, UK, Australia, all of them, right? A big one at Fremantle Global. And one of the things that has emerged through that is mental health, which is spanning across everywhere. And this was a specific study for audiences, Anil. And the big thing that came through was audiences are looking for escape and entertainment. Like that's a big thing that they want from this current life and what's happening to them. So I think that is something people as a team are definitely going to look for in terms of the content they consume.
What about the rest? Reggae, Manu, Rahul, Asif Bhai?
I think absolutely the surr of your content has to be more of hope, more of entertainment, taking you away from your problems. Because, I think the past few months, all of us have spent a lot of time on news and seeing the terrible situation that the world is going through and we ourselves as a country are going through. We need an escape from that. Otherwise, you start dreaming of what's happening. There was a terrible image that I saw of a person dying in Bombay yesterday. No medical help came to him in time, and that's disturbing. And I think all of us are seeing these disturbing visuals constantly, and hence, as as content creators, now we need to create content that is able to take audiences away from this, this terrible imagery.
Okay, Asif Bhai?
देखिए अभी जो हम लोग कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं ओटीटी पे या टेलीविजन पे जो भी एंटरटेनमेंट, वो हम लोग को मालूम है कि पहले शूट हो चुका है. अभी जो भी नया कंटेंट होगा, आई थिंक व्यूअर का भी बिहेवियर थोड़ा चेंज होगा. और ऑफ कोर्स एंटरटेनमेंट में बिलीव करता हूँ कि ये पोस्ट कोविड अगर सब कुछ ये सब निकल जाए तो ये इंडस्ट्री बहुत बूम होगा, बहुत काम होगा. क्योंकि लोगों को अगेन हैप्पीनेस चाहिए, लोग ये भूलना चाहेंगे ये जो वक्त है वो. तो टाइम बहुत अच्छा आ जाएगा, ये मैं एकदम अंदर से विश्वास रखता हूँ. और जो स्टोरी टेलिंग है वो भी थोड़ा सा बदलेगा, आइडियाज भी कुछ नए हो जाएंगे, बहुत सारा क्रिएटिव चेंजेस भी आएगा. और आई थिंक प्रोड्यूसर के लिए भी नए मर्जर होंगे, कुछ एमालगमेशन होगा और नए वे, जैसे इंडियन आइडल जैसे आईफोन के ऊपर शूट किया विदाउट लूजिंग द क्वालिटी. तो ऐसे कुछ नए वेज फाइंड आउट करके एक चेंज आएगा.
लेकिन ब्रॉडकास्ट इंडस्ट्री रिस्क अवर्स रही है. अगर एक शो चलता है एक चैनल पे, दूसरा तीनों चारों पांचों चैनल्स कॉपी करते हैं, वही उसी दिशा में जाते हैं.
देखिए उसका मैं आपको बोलता हूँ, देखो ये कोविड के टाइम के ऊपर जो टॉप रेटेड शो थे सैटेलाइट टेलीविजन पे, नॉन फिक्शन ने अच्छा नंबर्स दिया क्योंकि वो लोग बार बार रिपीट देखना चाहते हैं. बाकी जो टिपिकल जो सोशल ड्रामा शोज थे वो रेटिंग एकदम डाउन हो गया. तो वो जो कुछ शो जो चल रहे थे, लेकिन कुछ शोज ने बहुत अच्छा किया. जैसे माइथोलॉजी है, हम लोग बार बार देखना चाहेंगे. फॉर्चुनेटली हमारा शो है तारक मेहता, नंबर्स अच्छे आए क्योंकि हैप्पीनेस है, लोग इस वक्त लोग हंसना चाहते हैं. तो ये आगे ये बदलाव आएगा. आगे ये भी बदलाव आएगा कि जैसे देखो नॉन फिक्शन और फिक्शन दोनों अलग अलग जॉनर है. नॉन फिक्शन में आपके पास सर्टेन प्रॉब्लम है तो सर्टेन अपॉर्चुनिटी है. जो फिक्शन के अंदर जो हम लोग डेली शोज बनाते हैं, हमको 12 आवर्स हमारे वर्कर के साथ काम करना पड़ता है. तो वहां अलग चैलेंजेस है, वहां पर्टिकुलर आउटपुट होना ही पड़ेगा एवरी डे का. तो हम लोग वो पूरा डेली हम लोग कर सकते हैं. तो चैलेंजेस बहुत आ जाएंगे, स्टोरी टेलिंग बदलेगा और बहुत सारा प्रोग्रामिंग मुझे लगता है फिनिश हो जाएगा. लोगों ने अभी इतना नया नया देखा है ओटीटी के ऊपर. बहुत लोग जो पहले देखते नहीं थे उन्होंने सब कुछ देख लिया. तो अभी वो लोग टेलीविजन पे भी कुछ नया देखना चाहेंगे. उनका भी हैबिट 100% चेंज होने वाला है, ऐसा मेरा बिलीफ है.
फजीला?
Yeah, I think definitely feel good programming is going to go up overall. I think this whole trend of maybe this crime that we have on OTTs.
The Noah genre.
Yeah, you may find some more like happier program coming in overall. I think in terms of daily soaps, though, after a while, people will go back to wanting their high drama. They're kind of addicted to it in a lot of ways, and it will also give them the, nostalgia being a big thing. In a sense, you go back to a space where you were happier before. So I think TV may not see, there will definitely be feel-good programming for sure, but I think dramas will continue to thrive, is my opinion.
Reggae, and what's your take on that?
So basically, I agree. I think it's about a positive stuff, and I agree with Fazila. This is about this is a short-term kind of a change where you'd want to see all of one sort of stuff. It's pretty much a reaction to the whole lockdown. But going back, I think probably 1 year, I say, because it's post-vaccines and all coming in, people will tend to forget whatever problems have happened, and it's a natural tendency to get back to what they loved watching. Obviously, the quality is something after watching OTT they'd want an up in it. And I think from a broadcaster side, they are, I think, internally also debating the fact that they're not just competing, and they've been doing that even pre-COVID, that they're no longer competing with the other linear channels. They're actually now competing on a content level where the scale and the engagement with viewers has to really increase for all of them. So that has always been on the radar, and this has just kind of highlighted that whole part completely.
Yeah, but then there's a question from Lalit from Colosseum. Lalit Sharma. His question is, in the new normal, again, that's a much abused word. So 100 rupees to Project Mumbai of Shishir Joshi. Lalit shelled that out. In the new normal, due to the lockdown, the budgets are going to be cut by 25-30%. They've already been cut before that by 10-15%, 20%. So 60% cuts if we go with another 25-30% budget cut. There'll also be extra costs needed to have a COVID environment. You have more costs to cover. How are we going to deal with that, the production community? Cuts, and investment in creating a COVID-free environment.
See, personally, I think cuts is something that everyone will talk about. I mean, we're doing this in the COVID scenario, but at the end of the whole thing, we need to take a realistic look at what kind of a programming. If we are saying we're going to compete with the OTT kind of programming and everything on engagement levels, it is going to be tough to really see a cut coming by just because you want to put a certain percentage to it. But these are more engagement discussions with the broadcaster, with the producer, individually on the shows they do, and the kind of requirement of anything that's going to be on any show. You can't. I mean, no one can say that I want something that's worth ₹100 and give it to me at 50. That's the way you could have bought tapes of Amazon possibly already then. So I think it's going to be a debate on every show on the costs. I think just a straight cut is not something that's possible.
Yeah, but if I'll ask the other panelists, if Uday has said that he's lost 80% of his revenue thanks to the lockdown, he's earned only 20%. How is he going to afford to spend that much more? Any of you can take it.
I think, Anil, all stakeholders in the business will have to understand each other's problems. Neither party can make the other person's business unviable. I think, broadcasters, we have to understand their problem, and they will have to understand our problem, and we'll have to come to some kind of an agreement. This is not something that is going to last for the next 2 months, 3 months. This is going to last for a year and a half. And we must understand their point of view, and they must understand our point of view. I think it has to be a healthy discussion which lands up in a solution, because coming to the next point, as to budget cuts, while they're going to be stronger SOPs, there you need fewer people, your productivity is going to decrease. So there are going to be multiple challenges as makers that we will have to face once things start opening up. And to add to that, we are going to be subjected to budget cuts. So how do we do that? I think we'll have to work along with the broadcasters. I don't think that, and I think this is across businesses, that anybody should look at the other person's problem as the other person's problem. It's a collective problem that we find ourselves in. And this is going to be there for some time. Like you said, advertising has got impacted, and it's going to get impacted for some time now. It's not going to bounce back immediately.
Yeah, but the massive shows. Anyone else wants to add to this? Then I'll go on to my next perspective.
No, I think what Manu is saying, see, we all have to evaluate it together, but the problem is that unfortunately the producer community is not a very united community. So very often what happens is there's a whole divide and rule that happens, and there will be producers who will take the cuts and say, "Hum kar denge," and then pressure overall into every budget. Problem we have always had, and recently we had the same thing in terms of the IPPC tried to get the producers of one particular broadcaster together under one umbrella to discuss this together, but a few of them were not interested. They said, no, we've already figured it out or taken the cut, so we want to continue. So it is unfortunately in this one that is a very unfortunate problem we have in our market.
Anyone else?
We also need to look at costs, not just in isolation. So the cost is not just about what the production budget is, right? Because in any show that you've got, there's a production budget, there's a talent cost, there's a marketing cost. And the truth is, if ad revenue is down, ad revenue is down. Everyone's dealing with this together. No one's dealing with this in isolation, right? So I think the rationalization will happen across. And I also think the answer will lie in even more creative innovation now. I think
Correct.
those layers together will find us a solution for this. I'm pretty optimistic about that.
Yeah, so there's a question come from the audience, which is pertinent to everyone. Which body will lead this collaboration between broadcasters, producers to ensure that they understand each other? There's the IBF, which is body, which body? Abhimanyu just said that broadcasters and producers have to work together post-COVID. Actually now, starting in the next month or so, next week actually. Which body will lead this collaboration? Unless, like you said, Fazila, they get a creative producer and they get another producer and they give the show to that person, and the producer will do it at a lesser cost. So which body is going to ensure that both points of view are heard?
So I think the IFTPC, at least in terms of television, is the front runner in working these things out. But I'm not sure how much it will happen or not happen, because they're all dealing individually with people. So it's becoming a very individual sort of.
So there is no body at this stage. There is no body at this stage per se.
Not on the cost-cutting front, I think.
Nothing that can ensure a single decision, because it's more a voluntary position that everyone has taken. So
will that be a challenge in getting yourselves heard?
It will be a challenge. So that's what Fazila said. I think it
absolutely.
will be a challenge because some people will go and take decisions individually. But by and large, I think what I'd like to add to that point is also people who will agree to cuts are typically producers who will either run themselves into trouble, or eventually you will see quality and delivery dropping from those. What that does is, in the short term, it impacts everyone.
Yes.
But it will bounce back again. I think the reality will seep in, and basically it's something that all broadcasters know who to work with when they want quality. So I don't think, I think it's about a lot of producers who are, like, for example, we're here together and there's a lot more of our colleagues who, even if we have a sizable number talking to the broadcasters and IBF, I think we'll have a solution inside.
Okay. So there's a question which has come from Anushree from Nidish's company. She's asked whether a solution would be filming outside Mumbai, but there are sets which are in place. There are that could be a challenge. Filming outside for set shows which were on air before the lockdown. Filming in outside Mumbai if other regions open up and not Mumbai. For Hindi GECs, where parts of Maharashtra have opened up, parts of different states have opened up. So is that a solution?
I think Rahul would be one of the biggest ones, but I think this came up. Sorry, I'll just speak. This came up in the call that IBF and some of us had, even with the state authorities and the CM. I think the point he also raised was, it's easy to say we'll go someplace, but the impact is, how will you ensure TLB? Travel is fine. How do you ensure lodging and boarding? And Rahul's gone through most of it, like he was saying. So I think he'll really explain that better. But that's a big question for everyone.
Yeah, look, as Abhishek rightly said, it's easy to say that, Goa is probably a green zone, and everyone just trying to set up a project in Goa. Which artist is available? Is there a director? Is there a light man? And people have started already targeting those areas. But at the end of the day, what we need to realize is this disease, or this virus which we're facing, it could come from anywhere. It could just pop out, and the day it does on your shoot, whether you're in Goa, whether you're anywhere, it just goes through a complete lockdown. So even though, of course, Maharashtra is the entertainment hub, and we will start shoot, in a slow phase manner, in a phased rollout, and the same thing will happen whether you're in Maharashtra or not. So if you're going away, let's say in Umargaon, where I have my set in Gujarat, I will take all precautions to ensure that no such incident happens on my set, because if it does, then the entire set goes for a toss. Similarly, the same precautions would be taken in Maharashtra as well. Of course, because of the situation in Maharashtra today, people would say that Maharashtra is probably more in the red zone, more serious, and all of that, which is absolutely right. But as I was earlier saying, that even if you look for a outstation shoot, you need to ensure that the people whom you take, or the crew whom you take, are confined to a location. wherever you go, even in Maharashtra, when you start shoot and you phase-wise rollout, I think the biggest challenge for all of us as an industry is going to be whether the spot boy comes to or the setting boy comes to work, goes back home, comes back the next day, and we all are asymptomatic. Like a majority of our population is asymptomatic. You would not be able to pick it up. So we will be exposed, and so with the broadcasters. And just going back to the the earlier question on the broadcasters, I guess they understand. They completely understand where we all stand. It is going to be a two-way street. It's not going to be a one-way street where you just turn around and you say that you're just going to make this for me at this cost. That cost has gone up because of the COVID, because of the precautions, because of the just the fact that your shoot could stop the very next day. So it's a very dynamic and a very volatile environment where we are. Whether you're here or whether you're out, the precautions have to set in. And I guess it's just about just going ahead with the flow and slowly evolving with the process. That's the best we could do. I don't think we can really define an SOP and say this is it. We found the Bible. There's no Bible in this world. In these circumstances, I guess it's just about evolving the Bible, and then finally, hopefully, someone would find a vaccine, and that's when things would change.
Yeah, but the FWIC has suggested that you have to have 50 lakh rupee to be given to anyone who gets infected. So, and then 40 lakhs.
That's not regulatory. That's not regulatory. So I think it's just individual discussions. Yeah.
No, that's an association proposing, and there's
again not regulatory.
There's no harm in
asking.
And
Anil, that's been completely arbitrary.
We cannot. Of course, it's a human life, and it's all about insurance. So at the end of the day,
Exactly.
today we're insuring for. I think today all of us together insuring life on our sets for like 20-25 lakhs probably, or what they're asking is probably an increase. I guess the broadcasters that should be one of the other discussions with the broadcaster, that all these costs are going up. However, advertising, and we all know that the advertising revenue is low. We just need to find a middle ground. We just need to find a middle ground to work through this phase and see where we stand after a couple of months, or probably it's not going to get solved in a couple of months. I think probably in January we'll be in a better position to say what's going on.
I think this is also a good opportunity for the IBF to get active with the TRAI, as Shankar has been saying, and really up the ante on the distribution income. That would go a long way in helping the industry overall, and them getting more control over how much they can charge and how the money comes in. Right now, that's still so unregulated that they're not getting the kind of monies that they should. And I think if the government can actually pay some attention to that, it might overall help the industry a lot.
okay. Asid bhai? Asid
आई
bhai.
थिंक राहुल ने जो कहा बराबर है, क्योंकि जो सबसे बड़ा एक प्रॉब्लम है, मैं ये क्वेश्चन तो आई थिंक एड्रेस हो गया है, लेकिन जो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है हमारी एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री के लिए, इंडिया में कोई ऐसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है. जैसे अभी मन्यू ने अपना खुद का स्टूडियो है, सिद्धार्थ का, राहुल का अपना खुद का है, बाकी अदरवाइज हम लोग फिल्म सिटी पे डिपेंड है और बाकी कुछ प्राइवेट लोकेशन है. तो आई थिंक इसमें अभी हमको आगे चल के एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी एड्रेस करना पड़ेगा कि ऐसा कोई सिटी हो, ऐसा कोई बहुत बड़ा प्लेस हो, जैसे आईटी हब है बेंगलोर. तो आई थिंक ये भी एक एड्रेस करना पड़ेगा कि मोर फ्रेंडली 100-200 स्टूडियोज ही हो, तो हम लोग बहुत सेफ लेवल के ऊपर आगे चल के कोई भी अच्छे से काम कर सकते हैं. हमारे पास शूटिंग के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बहुत ही लिमिटेड है.
सही है, आपने कहा.
Anil,
Yeah.
I have a point here. See, starting and beginning the shoot is going to be the first challenge, but keeping the shoots going is going to be the next bigger challenge. If one case comes in any shoot, that means that shoot is going to get locked down.
Yeah.
And the whole idea should be that whatever SOPs we put in place, we're able to sustain those. And hence, I think, at least in the beginning, we are looking at trying to do as much of lockdown shoot. And the larger problem that I see in Bombay is that it's so dense as a place. The density of population is high, and therefore you're seeing the amount of cases in Bombay. Like New York has gone, the cases have gone through the roof. Similarly, Bombay has a similar problem. And that will continue to be, and especially with the monsoons, the onset of the monsoon, this place is going to become a fest for the, for a virus. Every monsoon we see the number of viruses increasing. And I see that this virus is also going to move fast and even faster during the monsoon. So I guess our biggest challenge as producers is going to be to come up with a plan where once we start shoot, we don't stop shoot. Because easily we can all get excited and start shoots, and then within 15 days you can have many cases, and it's just
but I'm going to hurl a cat among the pigeons now. Now you have a lot of asymptomatic cases who you can't detect. What do you do then? And secondly, you're going to have ambulances according to the SOP. You're going to have a doctor. You're going to have your insurance covers. You're going to have all that in place.
So I think COVID tests prior to getting people into the studio and trying to keep them as many people as in a lockdown condition. That could be one solution to it. And I think we'll just have to come up with solutions because that's the nature of the problem that we find ourselves in.
In the case of your large-scale dramas and large-scale mythological and historicals, that's going to be a no-no for some time now?
No, not really. You'll have to innovate in the way you're shooting them. You'll have to go with more mids and closes. When you open up the frame, you'll have to go with CGI, with crowd multiplications. You'll come up with solutions. And, the whole idea should be there's a creative challenge and there's a production challenge. And I feel that currently, creatively, we'll resolve most challenges. Production is the bigger challenge, but because we must not stop once we start. And we must take all precautions to ensure that we continue with shoots.
Fantastic. There's a question from the audience, from Dwani Binde. Considering the budget cuts for all the shows, do you think writers and artists would agree to take cuts in their fees? And do you see contracts being negotiated more fiercely in terms of payments being made to the key contributors of the shows, regardless of the situation, be it force majeure, not, especially to writers? Do you see writers agreeing to it and actors agreeing to lower payments?
I think, of course, I think everyone's aware of the situation, and I don't see anyone being very unreasonable in such an instance. I guess everyone will. We, as producers, the broadcasters have already laid it out in as many words that the advertising revenue is down. We completely understand where we stand. We stand at a cost of production going up because of the virus. We will be limited in staff. However, at the end of the day, if the total revenue of the industry is going down, then everyone who's involved and is part of the steps has to take a certain amount of cut and take it forward.
Anyone else?
I think everyone across the chain.
Across the value chain.
Everyone across the chain has to take a cut.
Yeah.
And this is something the unions are going to have to realize as well, that they are not going to be isolated from this. If it's a cut, it will have to be like right down to your spot boy. It has to start at your actor and go down to the spot.
Okay, yeah. So Dwani is added to a question. Dwani.
Touch the workers. I'm not sure if we should touch the workers because they're anyways at
not all of them, Rahul, but definitely
I think,
some of them. I think.
Fazila, I think it'll be about slabs.
Yeah, probably professionals.
I'm just being drastic to make a point, actually. But for it to work, it has to be across the chain, more or less. No.
Yeah, because Dwani believes that the writers will not adjust the costs. You'll have to adjust, actors and writers may not adjust. You'll have to adjust elsewhere.
We'll have to find new actors and writers. No, it's true.
Look, I think it's going to be across slabs, as I was saying earlier. And I also think, Anil, the big thing that Dwani should also see is this is not intentional. Nobody is doing it, to just get somebody to take a cut. Everyone's in it together and we're taking it across. And you're not setting a precedent necessarily. Once ad revenue goes up and things get better, then you will again review this. As we are saying, all this is work in progress.
And
Yeah,
I think
so
writers are educated people, they understand, they're sensible people. They understand where we are. They understand why we would propose when we do. So I don't think there'll be a problem there.
Okay, there's a question here which has come in, which is saying that shooting outside Mumbai is difficult. Will there be an influx of television shows which are heavy on VFX, or more content-driven shows with fewer location and cast, old school in the coming days? Like, will there be more old school type of television shows? Mid shots, closeouts, like Manu said, more of telenovela kind of shows. Anyone take a shot? I mean, whoever wants to take a shot.
I didn't really get the question.
The question is saying that there'll be more content driven rather than just having lots of locations and fewer cast, fewer locations.
Well, it's always been content driven, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. The person says that probably we haven't been content driven.
Yeah.
No, I think most of the shows have been on single or just like 1 second unit going out at times, kind of a thing. It's been based on a certain single location largely, which is the sets. So I think that will continue, and you can't just reduce number of talent for tracks and all that. So I think we'll continue at that. I think it's just the people all around standing that you'll have to reduce at a given point in time. So people who have their other roles and responsibilities will do it in different phases and then get away from the set. So at any point in time, there's not too much of a crowd.
Or probably outdoor, we will see, of course, with the monsoons, the outdoors will be cut to a large extent. Also in writing creatively, because of the virus and because of the entire shebang, I don't think we'll be writing too many outdoors. It will be more interior scenes than outdoor scenes.
Okay. Now, Anil Goyal has asked another question. Horror is a good genre candidate. Ramsey Productions were almost COVID style, already in one farmhouse. So are you going to see more of those?
Yeah, Bunny's made quite a lot of them.
Manu is a good guy.
No, but again, kidding aside.
It's going to be actually some genres are going to be very difficult to do. And I think horror is going to be one genre. You can do one, when you do horror, you'll be doing multiple episodes and you can do maybe 1 or 2 Ramsey style episodes. Otherwise, horror is very outdoor and very adventurous. So I don't see, I think certain genres will be very difficult to shoot during this period. Because the more the outdoor shoots, the more the touch points. The more the touch points, the more the danger for you to contract or give virus out to others. So, certain genres are going to take a hit, at least in the midterm. Short term.
Great. So, there's a feeling that because of the challenges which are there, a lot of you all are going to stop producing television. You all will move towards OTT and SVOD and just, belie all these fears that they have. There's lots of questions which have come around that. Will you all shift to OTT?
I just, luckily I lucked out and I was able to deliver my first OTT show, which was State of Siege. And trust me, it's far more difficult to shoot a OTT platform show than a television show, right? And therefore, you can't be, at a time like this, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to produce content which is going to be multi-locational, which is going to be multi-starrer, going from one place to another. The more confined the show, the simpler it is to shoot and the safer it is to shoot. So I don't think anyone's going to migrate to anything. I think, yes, you might have some makers make more studio-based shows in the short term.
What about the rest of y'all? Take a shot at this.
We are all eventually content producers, right? So whether it is OTT, whether it is traditional TV, whatever it is, for us, those are all platforms, right? So we will continue to produce wherever a good story takes us, a good idea takes us. I mean, it's about that.
Actually,
I think
from a just from a pure business point of view and a finance point of view, television is actually a way more lucrative medium overall for us producers than OTT is in a lot of ways, especially for the daily show producers. The kind of volumes one generates on television, it's just a world of difference, right? It's 10 episodes in a year and a half versus 400 episodes in a year and a half for one show.
Sure. Anyone else wants to take a shot? There are many more questions. I mean, I'm not able to take my own questions because of the questions that have been coming from the audience. Anyone else wants to comment? No? Okay, great. So, the question that has come up is what's going to happen to the shows which were on air? Some people have hinted they might go off air. What happens in those cases, Nitish, if shows which were being produced go off, are put off air because they feel that you need more happy shows rather than more Rona Dona shows or the different genres which were on air? What happens to that?
I think, Anil, we will have to see and diverge into the contract. I mean, every producer has a different contract with the broadcaster, so it depends on facts and circumstances of each case. Each agreement is different, each producer is different, each broadcaster is different. So it actually depends upon the contract, what's written in the contract, and on what basis the broadcaster can terminate the contract. So that's important. So unless you have a strong and valid reason to terminate the contract, then it becomes very difficult. You see, in these situations and COVID-19 situations, you only have major two reasons to terminate a contract: impossibility, frustration of a contract, or force majeure. Right now, according to me, each broadcaster understands everybody is with the producers, and producers also understand that equally. According to me, I don't see a dispute over there. I don't see a problem over there. Problem will be with the payment obligations and the payment tranches that might change tomorrow in future. So broadcasters might come up with different payment tranches and different payment obligations on the producers. I don't see because it's at the end of the day, if it has become impossibility, neither is the producer's fault that COVID-19 has come, neither it's the broadcaster's fault. So the termination clause has to be dealt into in very, very detailed and aspect manner. You can't read between the lines. So as I said earlier in the start when I was talking, so you have to read the contract, what is written in the contract. If it is written in the contract that the show will be terminated because of such and such XYZ reasons, then yes, it will be terminated and the show can go off air. And if the clause doesn't talk about XYZ reasons, then they can't terminate the contract. Then they will dispute, and then you'll have court litigations between the producer and the broadcaster.
So only if I can say here, I think it's largely not contractual, but largely about individual decision about a certain show. Because as a broadcaster and producer, everyone has invested in their characters and everything for a certain time. So if the teams decide that on a certain show, those characters can come back and automatically reconnect, those will continue. So it's, I think, a very individual show-driven decision. I don't think it will have those compulsory, let's change the shows, etc. I think contractually it's all open. It's just I think it's how broadcaster and producer sees as how those characters are going to connect immediately again or not. And from a happy content and that perspective, you don't need to change the show. I mean, storylines and tracks will be written to it. I don't think that is required to really change the show.
Okay. Anyone else wants to comment, or I move on to the other questions which are still here? Okay, and no one wants to comment. So there's going on from the new producers bit, who will step in and who will take the budget cuts. So this is a question which is saying that due to the current situation, it will be difficult for new producers to step in. This will become a monopoly of old producers, should be taken for helping new producers.
I think we anyways have enough producers.
No,
Sorry?
I don't. Why should it
why
be
would it be a stress for new producers? I'm
Yeah,
not
why?
understanding the question.
Yeah.
It's the same environment. I mean,
Exactly.
why would there be a stress? They
Okay.
can still pitch
It's
shows.
the same
they can-
environment for us as it would be for any new producer to
Yeah,
walk in
exactly.
at this point in time.
Yeah.
If a new producer believes that they can deliver in such testing times, I'm sure the broadcaster would. And at the end of the day, it's a broadcaster and a producers association. So it depends on them. And no, I don't think any of the producers are in the luxury of a position to stop someone else from coming in to the industry. I don't think that's a valid question anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they need to worry.
Yeah, I don't think the rules of engagement are changing. Way of working may be changing, but you walk in, it's going to be the merit of the idea, what budget it sits at, how safe can you make it to shoot it. That's the new added thing, right? But in terms of how it's chosen and whom it's given to, I don't think those are changing. So I would
Okay, then what another question that has come up, and the way projects will be commissioned. What's it going to be like post-COVID?
That's a broadcast question, frankly. I mean, you must ask that question to a broadcaster. But I think when you're thinking of an idea post-COVID, you must, as audiences, everyone's gone through a journey. So you must think of an idea that will relate to those, the audience at that time, make it more relatable. That's it. Whether it's humor, whether it is, whether it's a drama, whether it is whatever. Means,
Yeah.
So anyone else wants to add to this? Yeah? No? Okay, then there's a question from Manish Popat. Once a channel draws blood after dropping budget and producers having accepted and starts delivering, it'll be difficult to come back to the original numbers budgets. Any opinion on this?
I think Abhimanyu should answer that.
I think firstly it's sounding as if there's a war happening.
Exactly.
See, again, this is again a question of either party shouldn't make the other party's business unviable. And we must both look at each other's businesses and come to a mid path. I think there'll be a solution there. And in the long term, I don't know. I mean, you make a hit show, you make.
Yeah, it will start climbing again. Yeah, it will start climbing.
You'll start earning better revenues, and once better revenues come in, you'll be open to giving better budgets. So I don't think this is an everlasting phenomenon. It is something.
Human species, we are very resilient. We come back, ad revenues will come up. This is not a precedent being set, right?
Yeah.
It is just working together in a time where we're all challenged and finding a solution. And as the revenues come back, as it grows and business grows, we'll all again benefit, as we have always. I mean, it's
currently we just have to be with them. We understand. We understand they're going through everyone's going through a problem.
Everyone has to ride the storm together.
As partners, we're gonna stand by them. And when things change, we will get back to normal. I don't think the broadcasters will have any issue in coming back to normal at all.
Okay, so I've got a question from Amar Trivedi. Do you think standalone SWOT platform is a viable model in India? And do you all think AWOD will be a real challenge to linear? Yeah, Manu, you seem to be full of gravitas. Rege also.
I think you are full of gravitas. I think you must answer that question.
I'm just a moderator.
Okay, I think AWOD and television will coexist because it's who watches what at what time. SWOD is definitely here to stay. Now, how many players survive is a matter of time, how deep their pockets are, because it's a huge investment. It takes huge investments to create premium content. So I don't think that SWOD is a fractured business model. You have, in fact, Netflix and Amazon have shown during this period that they have shown a lot of growth, and so has Hotstar and Z5. They've all shown growth. Now, how much of investment they want to do and how much revenues they collect, that is their business model. But it's here to stay.
Yeah, completely. I think you're looking at just different modes of delivering your content, and there continues to be your mass GEC approach. Their linear channels are not going anywhere. Advertising, if we discount the COVID factor for this year and going into next, advertising was supposed to grow at an 10 to 11% per year. So I think linear is here to stay. SWOD and AWOD is, I think it's about putting together a slate of content and eventually how do you deliver it. So you could have SWOD platforms and AWOD platforms figuring that out on the basis of who's paying how much subscription. And are you ready to pay that annual fee, or would you rather watch ads and watch a content? So it's just an economy model of actually delivering to the consumer. And I think all will coexist. I don't think there's a problem on that.
Okay, great. There's a question which has come in. Are you all guys sleeping enough?
Yeah.
There's a question come because all of you guys have been watching too much content.
Are you all looking that sleepy?
No, everyone has. Their question which said that you all have been watching too much content. Manu said he's watching so much content that he hasn't watched in 20 years. So all of you are watching. All of you are on Zoom calls. So a question that came: are these guys sleeping?
So for a moment, I thought Anil, you were asking the attendees if they were sleeping.
No, the attendees have been so active. This is a question which has come from the attendees. So are you guys managing to get some sleep? Yes or no?
Yes,
Fazila said
yes,
yes.
yes, 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 yes. We're
Great.
trying to,
Very odd hours though, very odd hours though, because the content the content
Yes.
viewing it extends into like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning personally for me. So yeah, it's very weird right now.
Okay, now can Asad Bhai give a little background on what's happening with the IFTPC and its conversations with or Fazila on the conversations, or Nidesh on the conversations with the government of Maharashtra on restarting, or whoever knows anything about it.
Actually, Abhishek was the one who attended.
Oh, Abhishek attended it. So Abhishek, go ahead.
yeah. So I think they were pretty positive about the whole thing. I think their main concern is the number of cases are rising in Bombay and everywhere in Maharashtra. So the idea is that I think the SOP and the presentations have already been shared with them from the IBF and from the IFTPC. They were having visits to the film city, I think yesterday, and going ahead also they are visiting various locations to just figure out if it's really feasible to do that. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come from our comfort of having to manage our shoots on how we are going to basically keep the processes on ground. And that is what's going to spur them to basically give the permission to go ahead and start the shoots.
So right now, who's examining the different locations? Is it the government?
So state government. So state government has a few people, including the culture secretary, etc., who has formed teams. There's going to be a two-pronged thing. One is to go out, start from Film City maybe as the first base. And the second part is to have possibly a common SOP kind of a thing coming out from their side based on what everyone has submitted. And obviously look at it. And they are aware that various southern states have already started and are all starting anyways, have given a date. Requests were made to also, especially for a lot of producers, we need to make the range sheds and protect the sets first. So at least those permissions should come out, and maybe post-production, etc. So those are requests that were made, and I'm hoping that in the next week or so we'll hear on maybe what's going to come up next.
Abhishek, how long do you think this process will take? Like, when do you see it starting again?
So hopefully we'll get to hear from them in the coming week on what do we do next. I am hoping that by first week of June, at least they have some clearance to be given out. Because see, all of it is going to depend on the SOP discussion that we do with them, which should happen anytime soon. And I think if they get the comfort that we are confident enough and we're putting in enough efforts by providing not just safety material, but also ensuring process, I think they should be good to go about it. I think that they're looking at us to take responsibility and basically clarify as to how we will take charge of the situation.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So when do you approximately, let's say, are we seeing a time frame of July that we start filming?
Actually, so we can't really say a time frame, but I'm hoping in the next 8 to 10 days we'll have complete clarity. And I mean, if because 25th, like this is tomorrow onwards, Karnataka and Hyderabad and all are starting, I'm hoping that will egg them to start immediately. We might not get a large window in between there giving okay. They might just say, okay, you're free to start immediately as long as your stuff is in place.
But are the broadcasters ramped up enough with how they're going to proceed with their programming strategy? Then you guys have to have your story writers on board. You've got to get all of that in on board.
I think that's
what that means is existing shows. I think pretty much we just go back to where we left things off on a lot of the fiction shows. So schedules might start with lesser shows.
That is happening. I mean, for example, in the Hyderabad market, they're doing a week of catch up before they start.
Okay, so they can catch up.
So they're not like a kahani up tak, like a long 1 week ka kahani up tak before they start, you know.
I think under the MHA guidelines, we are not a prohibited activity. So that's a good thing that we can start shoot. It's left to the state government. And I think the only concern, the large concern from the state government is that they don't want stuff to happen in highly densely populated places. So studios that are in highly densely populated places will, I think, have an issue. But maybe places which are slightly more open, like Film City and Naigaon, might get the nod. So that is again something that is speculation. But yes, what I could understand from the discussions that have happened in the CM's meeting is this.
Great. There's a question come from Mushfika Masood. other than your own content development team, are you all willing to work with new writers? If yes, how
All
then
the
how
time.
can we contact you and pitch to you?
Everyone
So-
and all the time. I think.
So they want to say, yeah, they want to know how, and how can they contact you?
I think they should directly contact you, Anil, and you can pass it on.
All right. Okay, it's been a good 1 hour 50 minutes of conversation. I hope you've been feeling a lot more connected, a lot more aware of what's been going on in the industry and the way forward and the challenges you'll have faced. And thank you for being on this, and thank you to the audiences for staying on for so long and watching the doyens of our television production sector. Thank you to each of you who took part in it from the panel, and look forward to seeing and speaking to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Bye.
Abhimanyu. Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Asit Bhai.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Aradhana. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, Asit. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Asit. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Fasil.
Guys, have a great birthday week.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks.
चलो, all the best. जल्दी चालू हो जाए.
Thank you.
Huh?
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.